Hola amigos, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I think I've moved all the Warhammer out of the way in the background so that my house doesn't look completely crazy like it usually does for you. My name is Emma Bennet and I am an author of 7 contemporary romance novels and novellas and 1 children's picture book, which is what I am going to talk to you about today. If you haven't already and you like this sort of content, please consider subscribing to my channel and booping that notification bell so that YouTube lets you know when I have made another video. So make sure you settle down. This is going to be a nice chatty video. Get a beverage of your choice. Now this beverage is in my New Hampshire mug, which was actually given to me by the illustrator of my children's, which I am going to talk to you about today. She lives in New Hampshire and I miss her very much at the moment, but she is going to come and visit soon, so that will be lovely. So my children's book is The Snotty Princess. And it's all about a princess called Sophie, whose life is absolutely perfect and princess-like, and everybody wants to be just like her, until that is, she gets the most awful cold. As always, you will have to excuse any snoring in the background. Can you hear it there? I have 2 chocolate Labradors who like to be by my feet when I'm doing anything, and then they get so relaxed that they fall asleep and start snoring. I can only apologise for them. So I came up with the idea for The Snotty Princess about 6 years ago, and I wrote it quite quickly, I think, although it did take a lot of editing, because obviously with such a small number of words as you have in a picture book, every single word has to be completely perfect. So you have to go over it again and again and again to make sure that it is exactly the word that you want to use, that it is exactly right for the situation, and that it is appropriate vocabulary for the age of child who will be enjoying the book. Now this book is for children aged between about 2 and 6 years old. So when I had finished working on the manuscript, I wasn't really sure what to do with it because I've never published a children's book before. So I looked up various publishers and agents. I went through the Writers and Artists Yearbook. If you haven't heard of that and you are looking to approach an agent or publisher, it is well worth getting hold of a copy, either buying one or going to your library. They usually have them. They give listings of all the kind of eminent publishers and agents. It's a really, really handy book to go through. So I didn't want to get an agent because I wasn't sure whether I would want to publish any more of my children's stories or whether it would be just this one. I had written a couple of others at the time, but this was definitely my favourite. I didn't know whether I wanted a career as a children's or whether I just wanted to publish one. I was mainly looking at publishers rather than agents, but most publishers of children's works don't accept unsolicited manuscripts, meaning that they won't accept manuscripts that don't come through an agent. So I made the decision to self-publish. The first problem was that a picture book obviously needs pictures, and I am completely useless at anything to do with drawing and art, and so I needed an illustrator. So handily, around the time that I had decided to self-publish, my friend Caroline moved to the town that we were living in at the time. Her dog Una fell in love with my dog Hector, and so we figured that we may as well start hanging out as well, and we became friends. Anyway, one day on one of our many dog walks, she showed me a picture that she'd drawn of a kind of monster alien type thing. She had an idea for a children's book. She hadn't written any of the words yet, but she had come up with this character and the drawing was absolutely beautiful. So that evening I went home, I checked over my manuscript one last time, and then I emailed it over to her, hoping that she would want to illustrate it, and thankfully she did. So the next stage was a very, very serious business meeting which we had in Caroline's garden, and which involved us enjoying a bottle of Prosecco while our dogs were making out in the corner. Children's picture books have to have a certain number of pages, so we found out the number of pages that our picture book would need to have, and then we took all my writing and we divided it up between those pages so that we knew what would be on each page, and we could then work out how many pictures Caroline would need to draw and what those pictures were going to be of. So Caroline went away and she did her drawings, which were absolutely brilliant, even more beautiful than I thought that they would be. My favourite is actually this one is a double spread, and it is just so beautiful, so bright. They took her ages and she did an amazing job. So she did all the drawings and then she scanned them and she sent the files over to me, and that was when I hit my next dilemma, which was that if there's anything that I am worse at than art, it is any sort of formatting of books or technical stuff with computers. But handily for me, I married a man who is very good at that kind of thing. So my husband took over and put the book together, and he was so unbelievably patient because we were very, very particular about how we wanted this book to look. We really were. And one of the main things that we wanted is that the main characters each have their own fonts. So the Queen, she has a swirly font, and my favourite though is Princess Sophie's. Now Sophie has rainbow hair because she's a princess, duh, princesses should always have rainbow hair. So her writing is also rainbow, and I absolutely love that. It's brilliant. One of the problems that we hit is that when we were working out the pictures and Caroline was drawing them, we hadn't finalised what size the book was actually going to be. So if there was one tip that I would give for anybody who is planning to self-publish their own book, it is to make sure that you know the size that you're going for your book first, so that you can draw the pictures to scale. It just makes it much, much easier when you're putting it all together. And we just wanted to go for the biggest book that we could, because when my boys were little, I always used to really enjoy sharing the big books with them so that we could have it open on our laps and we could both see the pictures. And because the pictures are quite intricate, we wanted everything to be able to stand out and for children to be able to pick out their favourite parts of that. That was really, really important to us. And when it was all put together and the files were sent off to Amazon then sent us the proof, and we were really pleased with the quality. It was very, very good quality, especially the colours. We were worried that the colours might not pop enough, but they do. It's really bright and colourful, and I think it would definitely appeal to children. So when it came to the cost of doing this, I was very lucky in that my husband didn't charge me for any of the formatting or fiddling around that he did. And so the only cost that we had was for the ISBN on the book, which was only actually a few pounds because we ended up buying a job lot. They're quite expensive if you buy them individually, but because we were already going to be self-publishing some of my romance books, we bought a load of them. So individually, they don't work out very expensive at all. So that was really good. Obviously, if you don't have a friend who's an illustrator and is happy to work for a cut of the profits, or if you don't have somebody who can do the formatting and you're not able to do these things yourself, then you would need to take that into consideration when you are working out how much it will cost you to do your book. The other thing about deciding what size the book is we wanted it big, but we didn't want it so big that it would cost an absolute fortune to produce, and so then we would have to charge something silly like £15 for a children's paperback book. And when we ended up publishing the Snotty Princess, it was in the middle of the pandemic. So one thing that we did is that we made it available on Kindle Unlimited, which means that for people who have that service, they can get a copy of this for free to read to their children. We weren't able to afford to just give away copies of it, but that was a little something that we could do that we hoped would help parents who were at home with their kids, who weren't able to go to school, weren't able to go and see their friends and things like that. So that now the process is well and truly over. Would I go through it again? I think I would, but it's easy for me to say because, as I assume you've guessed, it was a lot less work for me than for other people to produce this book. Writing a children's book is not easy, but the amount of work that went into doing the illustrations and the formatting and things was actually far more than my original writing work. So if I had people who would be willing to help me and to do the work with me again, then yes, I would self-publish another children's book. I do have a couple more that are finished, but I am also considering sending them off to some agents and publishers to see if they would be interested, so I will keep you updated with that. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I do hope that you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making it. It was lovely to think back over the process of making my book. I'm very proud of it, and it was definitely an interesting experience. I will see you in the next one.